Oh, hi. Hi, my name is Charlotte Eisentraut. I'm with Engineered Business Solutions. Uh, we help you lead your team to success. This is a live, and so I figured, like, hey, this is really me. And today, the subject is four types of leaders and four types of followers. I just got the idea in my head, and I just said, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna make a video of it. Like, it literally looks like this. These are my notes, and this is all off of what it is that I know. Okay, first, to start off, of course, quick announcements. Like, if you enjoy the video, subscribe if you'd like to hear more, share if you'd like others to know out to bleh. Share if you'd like others to know this information, and check out ebsarizona.com to learn more about what it is that we do. We are taking on new clients, and which is super exciting. And of course, we've helped many business owners with our engineered business solutions now. But granted, my focus has been on leadership. However, the higher the tier, the more you get. So the more services that you can take advantage of. Again, check out ebsarizona.com. Okay, so four types of leaders. Okay, and this is coming from my perspective. I've done leadership pretty much ever since I was able to lead and able to follow. And so it's very important that when I say leadership, I also include followership. This is probably coming from me as a woman. I am very much about community. I've been led by men. I've led as a woman. A lot of this is speaking from my perspective, both as leading as a woman and following as a woman. And of both genders and sexes. So anyway, so four types of leaders. We have the diplomatic, the kind, the reserved, and then the mean. Now, um, mean as in the one who is mean. Okay, so diplomatic, first and foremost, those are the people who are very much, they watch their tone, they watch what they say, they watch how it is that they say it. A lot of the times, like when I say character, it's like characteristics of leaders tend to fall into four categories. Now, with each leader, the diplomatic, kind, reserved, and mean, most often, um, like all of those four are effective in their own way. But in order for them to be effective, in order for any leader to be effective, you have to have followers who want to follow you, right? I can't say I'm your leader and then you say no, you're not, because I don't want to follow you. I don't, say if you're not com- competent enough, or you don't seem like you're competent either about the work or even about how to manage people. Then, some people are going to decide whether or not it is that they want to follow you, and of course how much power you have, everything like that. When you have a lot of power over someone, they're much more likely to follow you, depending on what that power is and what form it comes in. But then somebody who, say not having a lot of power, like if you don't have a lot of, and then of course that's where it is that it gets into sort of like a really fun game, where it can kind of get into a game, because like leadership and followership are all social constructs, really. It's a really kind of a way to think of leadership and followership. Like I've just the other day I saw somebody, and I used to make this mistake too. I used to say I was a natural born leader, and I I don't quite know how I feel about that, but definitely, in order to be a leader, you really have to be one who takes initiative and leads your team towards uh, a goal or to overcome an obstacle. There's going to be certain obstacles that are inevitable, but it's all about how it is that the leader leads. So 4 types of leaders: diplomatic, kind, reserved, and mean. So again, the diplomatic is really all about community. Diplomatic is, again, watching their tone, watching what they say. And it's very diplomatic is very much like kind, but with kindness, sometimes it can be overly kind, like not enough. Uh, like there's certain leaders that have weaknesses and strengths. Diplomatic's strengths are things like um, looking at a social situation strategically and logically. However, one of the things that the diplomatic leader might often have trouble with is following a kind of gut instinct. So, because diplomatic tends to be very much logic focused, but when a diplomatic leader has that balance between thinking logically and having their gut really be in tune with their emotions, so that then they can really make the right choice for their team, or at least have it be based on kind of like empathy or validation or anything like that. But I mean, uh, diplomatic is a form of leadership that can be very, very effective. Personally, I prefer the diplomatic, but uh, leaders and followers are of two different. It's like you can be a leader and you can be a follower, but you're gonna have differing ways of leading and following. So one of the problems that the kind leader has a lot of trouble with is not giving the criticism that needs to be given to their followers. So if you one of the things that often happens to followers, that if you only say nice things to someone, and again, especially it's somebody in your team, if you only say nice things, that person, the psychology tends to put itself in such a way that that person then thinks, well, somehow it's like, I'm not doing good enough. Um, Criticism is really important because it helps us know what we need to improve on. If everything that I do is perfect, uh, and I'm not given any kind of thing about how it is that I can make my job better, how I can improve my job, how I can improve the livelihood of other people as a part of my job. If I don't know that, or if I'm only told good things, then what often happens is that the psychology says, okay, gotta find what is wrong, because otherwise, one of the things about kindness is that the very kind leader is that because then not enough criticism is coming in to their followers, what ends up happening is that it's like last minute, you're fired kind of thing. Like last minute, this is no longer a team oriented thing. And, you've done something that is so horrific, but it's like, but if you're as the follower saying, I haven't had the input that I need, how can I, if that's the problem with the kind leader, if they're just constantly like, then you end up waiting until something bad happens, and then oh and again, the kind leader is very much like, so as a part of it, it's not wanting to get into conflict. The very kind leader is one of those that don't want to get into conflict. The reason why that's a real big problem is because conflict lets us know that we have choices, and my choice might be different than your choice. But in order for us to find a common ground where, say, we have a project going and it might not be A and it might not be C, but it could be B, which is right in the middle of both of them and is a better solution than either one by themselves. Or sometimes you have both. So the kind leader, if the kind leader is not like avoiding conflict, it's just not good, because you have to, leadership and followership are like a social game. You have to play the game in order to win, kind of thing. Like, and it's all strategy. There's a lot of strategy to it, and it's a fun game. I've enjoyed playing it. But yeah. So then the reserved. Is related to the kind, in that the reserved leader tends to be avoidant towards conflict, avoidant of conflict. So that's tends to be related to the kind leader. Reserved is, but now one of the big benefits of the reserved type of leader is, it's like the reserved type of leader is the person who has, it's like, think of it, control of the room without saying too much. So that, or saying very little, only saying what is necessary. And the benefits of the reserved leader are that the team is much more likely to resolve its conflicts within its own little sphere. And anytime that there is a conflict that's necessary to let the main leader know, then they let him know. But otherwise, the reserve leader is there to say, and all of these leaders, I haven't gotten to mean yet, but all of these leaders, ultimately what leadership is getting people, including yourself sometimes, depending on your position, you're, as a leader, it's having the power over people to get through, and through obstacles that will ultimately come up. Like, there's always going to be challenges. When you have a goal, ultimately you're taking action on that goal. So you have to do all these steps with your team and eventually get to that goal. And depending on the size of the team, sometimes everybody's a leader, sometimes everybody's a follower, all at the same time. One of the things that really makes leadership very interesting is how passive or aggressive people can be, and just kind of watching how it is that sometimes it's effective and sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's a certain specific situation that it makes sense for an otherwise somebody who usually is more passive or reserved to suddenly then jump to a different kind of leadership style. That is that can happen, and actually kind of jumping around or not really knowing how. Anyway, power kind of really plays into leadership, and again, it's all a social game. So the reserved, big benefit of the reserved is, of course, that the team sort of figures each other out and comes to their own conclusions, which can be very good. And going through, being allowed to go through a conflict, a healthy conflict within the team as a leader, and making it out alive, if you will, all together, ultimately makes people much more connected. And so it's sort of like, conflict can definitely be sort of a team building exercise. And so that's that. Now, the fourth one is the mean leader. Sometimes, or like, the mean could also be extravagant, an extravagant kind of leader, but in particular mean. So mean would be, well, some level of emotional abuse, some level, kind of, they sort of cut you at the core. And for whatever reason, that those kinds of leaders can be effective. But with those types of leaders, it's a very the structure tends to be a little bit more brittle. Things break easily. Think social situations, they break easily, right? When you have the mean boss, if your boss is mean like all the time, or if you're a mean boss all the time, because I've also known mean bosses, or I've known mean people, and they are leaders, and it's fine. Because because I've been a follower of mean bosses before. I've been a follower of all these other different kinds, and I've been a leader of many of these kinds as well. So the mean really depend, like the leader who is mean often kind of depends on the perception of the followers. So there are those who, as sort of like a fun little power play, is embracing their meanness so much to the point that it's funny. So it's like people know that you're not being serious. That can be effective as a part of like the mean leader. Now, granted, there are those who are in leadership who, now I'm not a psychologist, but I have studied psychology, but there are those who are in leadership who have a personality disorder, like borderline. I actually, now it's, I actually used to be borderline, but with the help of a lot of intensive therapy, I've changed. Anyway, that's a part of the transformation. Transformative leadership is what we do. Transformative. I've been transformed myself as a leader, but anyway. So the mean person. Now, of course, one of the you could kind of think of the it's like the advantages and the disadvantages, right, of a mean leader. Ironically enough, the mean streak in the leader can be a source of strength for the leader in terms of how it is that they follow. And sometimes it can get to the point of being self-sabotaging, and that's why it is that I say that the mean leader, depending on how big it is or how mean they are, kind of depends on how brittle the team is. Like if you're in a hugely toxic environment, that's a very brittle team and is likely to break, right, or break up. But if it's just a small amount of mean kind of thing, then they tend to have more cohesion. So, as a part of leaders, there has to be followers. So the warrior. So there's 4 types of followers. Okay, so we got the warrior, student, learner, and enthusiast. And then, so the warrior type of, so think of, it's like, okay, it's mindset. All of these are, that's a mindset. It's like a warrior is like a bull, like a force to be reckoned with. Like even though you're following, it's kind of like, even though you're following, you go no matter what. You're dedicated. That's another way to think of it. A warrior is like dedicated. A bull, they keep their, maybe they keep their head down, whatever, like what, but whether or not they do, they are dedicated. And they have that warrior spirit, that never give up, never surrender bull. like plow through, right? So then we have the student. So, and the student is constantly learning. And then of course there's always personality types, but these are ways that I thought of in terms of followers. Because so a student is also the same as a sheep. Okay, so a student is very similar to a sheep. Sheep follow. Sheep are like, okay, whatever it is that you say, but they're also learning. Yeah, they're in the student mindset. So student mindset versus learner. It's like student would be action happening to you socially. Learner would be like actively going out and finding stuff and then solving solutions. So that's part of like leadership. So the student is whatever it is that you present to me, I'm good. Yep. Yes, bring it. Then there's the learner or the owl. So that's the active one. It's sort of like a tiger. It's actually like an owl, so it's enthusiastic. Now, but the fourth one, because everybody needs a black sheep, right, is actually the minimalist. So minimalist follower is the one who does the bare minimum, just scraping by. Because like with followers, there's going to be different levels of enthusiasm, similar to different leaders, right? Even leaders have different levels of effectiveness, just like how different followers have different levels of followership. Like, so if I lead you, I am taking action upon you. If you are being followed, you are saying, yes, you are following me. I will take action on what you tell me. So that's basically what a follower is, right? And leaders, I don't like, so again, I used to call myself natural born leader. And then I realized, no, you learn. It's a skill that you build. There's characteristics that certain leaders might have, physical characteristics, maybe their voice, maybe what it is that they wear, how it is that they talk, that make people want to follow them more or less. That still happens in leadership as well, but in terms of personality type, you got in terms of leaders, we got diplomatic, kind, reserved, and mean. And then for the follower types, we have warrior, student, enthusiast, and minimalist. Okay, so there you go. I've overspent my 20 minutes, but that's all right. That's okay. So, but we do offer services. We have some upcoming courses. Super excited. Be sure to register for that stuff. Like if you enjoy the video, subscribe if you like to hear more, share if you'd like somebody else to know a little bit more about leadership and followership. And of course, check out ebsarizona.com right now to see all the amazing things that we have to offer. Bye. See you later.